Welcome to another episode of Bards and Barrels. Today, alignments. What are they and why should you care?
Whoa!
Synchronized cracking, baby.
It's like surround sound cracks.
I want to be like Donkey and be like, let's do that again.
There was the opening crack. Brett here along with Phil and Ross, and we're talking today, guys, about alignments. What are those?
Well,
How do you identify?
Well, that was that episode.
Good night, everybody.
So I feel like the most frequent thing that gets thrown out there, right, when we talk about alignments, is like moral compass, which is half true, right?
So this is the thing that if you start joining Facebook groups for Dungeons and Dragons or Instagram groups or like follow pages, you're going to start to see these little picture charts, and you're going to see like three by three row, like grid of people, and it's going to be like lawful, neutral, chaotic, evil, and it's going to show different pictures.
Yep.
You'll come across those pretty quickly. They're pretty popular.
Tons.
Yes.
I mean, essentially, what we're doing here is we're taking a little bit deeper dive into how you build your character. And one of the choices that you're going to make that we kind of glossed, or I think we mentioned it in our original character build episode, but we didn't talk deeply about it, was this alignment. And you do get to pick whatever alignment you want, pending what your DM says. You always should work this out with your DM. But like Phil mentioned, that it's a moral compass. So this is like what's helping you decide, or helping you, what helps you drive your decision making.
So I think I describe it kind of as the player's handbook, I think, describes it as two pieces, but you can think of it as like that moral compass is one component of it. Good, evil, and obviously Switzerland, right? Neutral is in there, right? It exists. The other component of that is kind of your personal attitude. So what is your attitude towards society and order? Are you lawful, rule follower, like a paladin? Are you chaotic? Hey, let's just see what happens with the world. Or neutral, once again, because if you're one of those people that puts all threes on the scale of 1 to 5, you can be a neutral.
A true neutral.
A true neutral.
So that's the
primary
first part of this.
Right in the middle.
That's right.
But then you go on the other side of this description of alignment, and you get good, neutral, and evil.
Oh, yeah.
So those are a little bit more obvious based on what they say. Like, are you doing things for good reasons? Are you doing them just to see how things happen, or for malicious, evil reasons?
There's a little caveat at this point, and that is that most, as in 95% of characters, are not evil characters.
Yep.
It's very rare to find evil characters because it's hard to jive an evil character in with a party where they're not all evil. Like if your ends aren't all going to the same direction, it's very hard to. Player dynamics are extremely hard with that.
I agree with that if you're playing a good themed campaign. There are campaigns out there that are evil campaigns, and you're a crew, right, that works together to accomplish a common task, even though you might be evil aligned characters, or you're out there to thwart or to throw out these plans against, the realm, and then heroes are going to rise up to combat you. But I think there's a place, right, for an evil character to exist, but some of that will be campaign specific.
And then within being evil, you can have those varieties of alignments with being a chaotic evil or a neutral or a lawful evil. And those can go head to head within your party if you're having evil characters in one party.
So I agree with Brett, because if we do take a look at like a lawful evil character, right? The difference between a lawful evil character and a chaotic evil character. A lawful evil character still has a code. So you could potentially be a lawful evil character still in a party of good aligned people and make it work, right? Whether your code is maybe you're loyal to this group of people, right? That could be a thing. Chaos, It's like it sounds. You
You
do
just-
what you can get away with.
You want to see the world burn.
basically.
And that's where, when it comes to races, you can be any of these. Like, race doesn't factor, playable races don't factor into any of these alignments. But when it comes to monsters or like a specific, like if you're talking about devils, they're almost always going to be evil aligned.
I love the Devil's Demons kind of vision of alignment, because if we talk about the two, right? Devils have a very structured hierarchy.
Yes.
They are lawful evil.
Yes.
Demons, chaos, chaotic evil. Just evil because they can be.
And that's something that would have been really kind of more helpful to think about when we were going through our Descent to Avernus campaign, is the difference between the lawful and the chaotic nature of each of those entities and how they probably would respond based on how we came in contact with them.
I think it would have been helpful too when we were in Avernus to, as far as like picturing them, because like
Sure.
the whole blood war thing was very, very hard to wrap your head around because the reasoning was very vague and probably lost in ancient history.
Devils
It's
and
like,
demons fighting each other, but okay, why? Who's good? Who's bad here?
But
I mean,
when-
they're both bad, but
but when you think of it in terms of alignment, it does make sense because it's the order versus the chaos in that sense. And it's like which one should rule that level of hell, essentially.
Right.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
we need to go
That's
back
really
and play
good.
through it again.
Ew, let's not say we did.
It's like 3 more years.
It will seep over into what we're doing. Don't worry.
It's like we may be back anyway. It's fine.
Who's to say that Faerun won't be the next Avernus?
Ooh, dun dun dun. But speaking of
Damn.
campaigns and alignments, so one of the things that we came up against in our campaign, and this is kind of a frequent occurrence, is having your campaign affect or influence your alignment over time or quickly.
Yeah, or an immediate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which happened to one of Brett's characters in
Yeah.
the last campaign.
So Ari in our campaign picked up a certain object that immediately changed his alignment. So he went from, I think it was chaotic neutral to lawful good,
Oh, yeah.
which was a very, very strong change for him.
And challenging from
Oh, to roleplay that
Yes,
change
the
was
roleplay was
hard.
tough. I agree. You did a great job, but it was a huge change.
I didn't appreciate how much of a change it was be when you sent it to me, but then as I like started thinking through it and we got into it, it's like, I'm fighting what I've been doing the last however many sessions because of this one little change.
You look very pensive over
no,
there, Ross.
No. I'm just thinking now because for whatever reason I completely forgot that Ari like went all the way to lawful good. How the hell is he going to be a used car salesman? I call bullshit on that.
You'll find out more when we come back.
I don't believe that one bit. I don't think he can sell cars worth of shit. It's like, this is a beautiful 1968 Cadillac. It only needs a new transmission. It's fine.
There's a difference between the owner of a dealership and the salesman.
The actual salesman.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You'll learn more.
Okay. I'm
Maybe.
excited. Yeah. Mhm.
No one knows where Thorn is. So, well, let's talk about the other side of that, right? So, a long change. I think that Ross, your character, potentially had the opportunity, or maybe not opportunity, but there was potential impact for something like that with your paladin.
Right. So several times you and I had the discussion of, what if Thorn made a deal with a demon to get information? So it's like doing something bad for a good end, essentially, right? But the conversation we had over and over again, so he's a lawful good character. So it's like if he's doing that, does he become an oath breaker? Because that is very staunchly against the oath that he had. He's oath of devotion, very toe the line. Does that get him off that and cause him to become an oath breaker, which is a lawful evil version of the paladin? Or the other thing is like, and something that we probably need to talk about is like fighting that alignment. So it's like, do the ends justify the means in his mind, which is more of a lawful neutral or chaotic neutral type idea. So it's like, is there a shift or something like that in there? You and I had lots of deep conversations about what could have happened there. And it never came to fruition because I didn't make a deal. But it came close enough that we had to have the conversation about like, what if in the moment I do something stupid?
And this is the weird thing about alignments is you can be different alignments in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're picking an alignment, it's your baseline, I would say. Like, it's when you're by yourself in the dark, who are you? Like, that's this
Sure.
type of question is,
Yeah.
are you going to watch the world burn? Or are you going to crack down on lawbreakers?
Right. Well, and I think this is like deep down human like this is what being a human being, not human as in D&D, but being a human human
in real
is.
life.
Yeah, exactly, because what it boils down to is exactly what you just said. It's like, given the moment, given the situation, you're not always perfectly good towing the straight and narrow. You know, if somebody would harm my kid, I would go lawful evil on their shit, hands down. We would all do that for our kids. Chaotic evil, yeah.
Sure.
But I think that's, and maybe that's really what the intention of the alignment was for in the first place, is like, yeah, you pick one, but the reality is you never necessarily stick to it 100% of the time.
And that's where, Phil, on our last episode talking about wizards, you made a wizard that had a little bit of a question mark on where their alignment would fall.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it kind of depends where you pick this character up. Ideally, when this character went to Academy, this was probably a lawful good character, I would say. Maybe neutral good. Probably lawful good, though. Followed the rules, was on time to class, read all the assigned readings. And then, through this kind of tragic instance that happened in her life, made her start questioning more so the lawful side of things initially, right? Became a little more chaotic, experimenting in things that maybe weren't by the book, but slowly, I think, starts to lose that good side as well. And it becomes kind of this, okay, well, the ends justify the means. Okay, the ends justify the means, right? And it moves away from that, well, I'm going to follow all the rules and be a good person, to I'm only going to do what I have to do to make this work. And slowly you kind of slide through alignments until I don't know where she'd land. I actually kind of want to play that character, but
And that was something we were talking about before this, is if a homebrew idea we were just spitballing a little bit was, if you can have a sliding scale with you and your DM on your alignment over time. Like, Ross and I have played Gloomhaven, and in that you have like your reputation. And if you do certain things, your reputation goes up in the community or it goes down. And that affects other things. Could that happen in D&D? Could you work with that, and then at the end of your session, your DM pops in and says, "Oh, you went down. You went more chaotic," or something.
Just another really good example. If you don't play Gloomhaven, if you have played Red Dead Redemption 2, there is a reputation in that game as well, based on decisions that you make. Same kind of concept. It's just a little wider net.
I will say, if you want to catch a little bit more about Phil's wizard that he was discussing there, you can catch it on our last episode about the wizard class review. But final thoughts, fellas, alignment. Where do you fall?
Ooh. I mean, it's character specific for me, very much so. But I would say I usually play rogues, so I'm probably chaotic good to chaotic neutral, usually somewhere in there. In that, so chaotic good, lawful neutral, or chaotic neutral. I would never just play a plain neutral character.
All right.
I need a little more flavor.
Okay, me. I think I would be chaotic neutral. Like, a lot of my characters tend to jump off ships with an axe or randomly light fires in a pit full of sewer gas. Like, you never know what I'm gonna do.
There needs to be an alignment that's just chaos, and like that needs to be bred.
Yes. For me, a year ago, I would have said all of my characters that I had created to that point were lawful good characters. I think the black and white that I used to have with characters has turned considerably more gray.
You're welcome. No. I can't claim credit for that.
It was both of us. But yes, I think I've come. I've certainly changed more to a lawful neutral, I think, standard on things.
He's going evil.
I do have a question for you guys before we get out of here, because I feel like we have a couple minutes. What defines a person? So, like, if they say they're lawful good, and lawful referring to like order, government. Let's say government as an example, right? So you're lawful, you're following the laws, towing the line. But what if you realize that the laws were bad in the first place? And you make that realization. Are you lawful because you follow the laws, or are you lawful because you understand the laws are bad or good?
I think you're still lawful because you care.
I like that explanation.
It's fair.
You're empathetic.
And I
Sure.
feel like as good aligned, you would attempt to try to change the law to be what you think, or like the ones you know are wrong. I feel like as a good aligned character, you would try to change them.
My guess would be if we went and found different articles about how people define these, that you would find that lawful is probably is either empathetic or honor bound. And
Sure.
that's going to be the most common.
I would say like any political activist would be lawful.
Sure.
I also think so. One of the definitions that they even have in the player's handbook too about lawful is that part of it may even pertain to like your personal code, not necessarily
makes sense.
just
Oh, okay.
Sure.
law or
That's a good,
traditions.
that's a
right?
good pick. Yep.
Sure. Okay.
That's going to do it for this episode of Bards and Barrels. You can listen to past episodes of the show anywhere podcasts can be found. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Bards and Barrels. We'll catch you next time.